Hi everyone, this is Colleen from the West Islip Library. So today we're going to be making these macrame jar covers. So this is the supplies that everyone will be getting with their kit. So you have the tea light and all the cord that you'll need to make the macrame pattern. So as you can see laid out here, one of the cords will be twice as long as the rest of the cords, and this is the one that you're going to start with to make the pattern. So it's important to find that one first. So once we have that longest cord, we're going to take it and we're going to wrap it all the way around the jar and just tie a simple loose knot. You actually don't want to make it too tight or double knotted or anything, because we want to be able to work with that strand and pull more cords through it. So once that's on, we're going to start taking all of the shorter cords, and as you can see I have them folded in half, pull the loop through, and then pull each of the strands through. And then you're just going to tighten it up a little bit. So obviously, because it's not knotted tight, that main long strand might slip, but that's okay, we're going to make it tighter later. So just keep going with each of the smaller strands that you have. You're just going to put the loop behind the long strand and pull the two strings through. And you want to just make sure they're folded evenly down the middle so that you don't have one strand way longer than the other strand. And then you're just going to go through. You can tighten the knot as you need to. It will get looser as you add these. So same thing all the way around, just adding those little cords. This part's pretty repetitive, but once you get into a rhythm, it kind of just takes care of itself. So I just speeded it up here so that you guys don't have to watch me do every single one, but same thing, just putting all the loops onto that main long cord. So once all of the other cords are added, you can go back and tighten that main long string. So it was initially that one single knot, just go ahead and add one more knot, and this will keep it tight and secure. You could actually see that mine's still a little loose. Doesn't matter if it's still a little loose, but you just want to make sure that it's now double knotted. So that should be all set. So once all of our cords are on, we're going to start making the actual macrame knots. And if you need, you can move these around. That's like the great thing about having that still be kind of loose. They're able to move so that they're evenly spaced. If you want to move them some closer, some farther, feel free to do that, but I'm just making sure they're all as even as possible right there. So to start your square knots, you're going to need 4 strands. So that's 2 of those knots. So you're going to take the middle 2 and then separate them from the outside 2, and then you go right over front, left over back. And then you'll see you'll kind of have those 2 loops on the side, and you're going to pull each strand through the loops. You could also start left in the front, right in the back, it doesn't matter. But once you put one in the front, so if you start right in the front, the next step is right in the back. So once you put those through loops, you pull it tight, pull those middle strands, make sure it goes all the way up. And now right was in the front, so now right is in the back, and then left is in the front. And then same thing, once you get it situated, you just pull it through those little loops on the side. Very easy. And then pull the knot all the way up, and then tighten it. So now you're just going to go around and do the same thing with every pair of loops. So every pair is 4 strands. You're going to separate the outside 2 from the inside 2. This time I went left over the front first, just to show you that it doesn't matter. So left is in front, right is in back, and get it situated, and then same thing, pulling them through the loops. So here I've kind of just sped it up a little bit, but it's going to be the same thing. You're going to take every pair of the loops and go all the way around so that you have half as many knots as you did loops. There you could see that is the one that I made the initial double knot with to hold it all together, and we're going to use it the same way as we're using the loops. We're just going to pull it down and act as though that double knot is one of the loops. So now your jar should look like this. You should have square knots going all the way around the top. Every loop that you added is now part of a knot, so there's no strings hanging by themselves. They're all part of a square knot. Same as when they were just loops, you could also move the entire knot around if you need. They should still be able to move around on that main cord. So now we start part 2. We're going to take 4 more strands, but this time they're going to come from 2 separate square knots. So you're going to get those inside 4 strands, and you're going to use those to make another square knot. So same thing as before, right over front, left over back, and then you're going to go ahead and pull them through the loops. The difference this time is once you go to pull these up, you do want to just leave like a little bit of space, not tightening it all the way. So you have those 2 little loops on the top, and you could leave those. If you want, you can tighten it all the way, totally up to you, but I like to leave the little loop. And then you're going to do the same thing, left over front, right in the back, pull the loops. So now you have a second square knot that is conjoining that top row of knots. So as you go through, this will get easier and easier to do because there will be less and less string to work with. It'll all start coming together to make the knots. The important part is just to make sure that you separate 2 strands from each of the knots so that you're not using all of the strands from the same knot, because you want to make 2 of them come together. Okay, so this part is totally optional to add a 3rd square knot. So if you like the way that it looks now, you can completely skip this knot and it will still work the way that it is. But if you want, you can go back and add 1 more knot. So this one is going to come and kind of be centered under that first knot. But same thing as before, you're pulling 2 strands from 2 separate knots to give you those 4 strands to make the square knot. So as you can see here, as you go through and make the knots, the strands will separate and it definitely gets easier to work with. So you're still just pulling 2 from each side to bring 4 together in the middle, and then you're going to go through and make the knots. So once you go all the way around and add that 3rd row of knots, you'll see that you now have 3 separate rows of them, and you still have a bunch of extra cord on the bottom, and that's all right. We're going to get rid of that in a second. So now you're going to go to each individual knot, grab the 4 strands that are hanging down, and you're just going to cut across the bottom so that they're all even. If you want, you could cut them exactly where the jar ends, or you can make them a little longer, you can make them a little shorter. Completely depends on how you want it to look. You do just want to cut them across evenly, and then as you go from there, we'll fluff them up a little bit. So once you have all of the cords cut and even, we're going to start to unravel them, and this is going to make them look kind of like unbraided hair, I guess would be a good way to describe it. And if you want, you can start to unravel them and then take a hairbrush and like comb through them, and this will make them look even fuller and fluffier. But just for now, I'm just going to unravel them, and they're just twisted together, so you'll see once you get it undone, they come apart pretty easily. So now I have that first knot pretty much unraveled, just one more little section left, and you're going to go ahead and do this all around the jar, so unravel every section that you have left hanging. So once all the cord is unraveled, your jar will look like this. Each of these jars does have a little candle holder. It is screwed on, so you can just unscrew the top, and then you'll see where the tea light can go. You could use a real candle too if you want. Then you could just screw it back in. And now you'll be able to have the nice light coming out of the middle. Here you can see I've turned the lights off, so you get that really pretty glow coming out of it. And if you put it up near a wall, it'll make like a pretty pattern on the wall. It's just really nice, gives a nice ambiance. Alright guys, that's all we have today for making this jar cover. I hope you enjoyed it.